Some movies explode. This one just sits across from you and tells the truth. No twists, no spectacle, just people saying the things they've been avoiding for years. Tonight, we're talking secrets and lies.
And now, our feature presentation.
Fussy. Who hired this crew?
What's your favorite scary movie?
I'm smart, you're dumb. I'm big, you're little. I'm right, you're wrong. Show me the money! Are you too good for your home? Answer me!
Baby, you are so money and you don't even know it.
Yeah. I thought this was good.
Hello, boys! I'm back!
Hey, everyone. Welcome into 52/1996, a live movie conversation podcast where we take a look back 30 years from today and dig into the films of 1996, one movie at a time. I'm your host, Cody, and this week I'm joined by Ryan once again for our Oscar month as we break down Secrets and Lies. Welcome in, Ryan.
Hello.
If this is your first time hanging out, welcome in. The idea is pretty simple. Every week for 52 weeks, we revisit a movie from the year that it was released in the year 1996. Sometimes I get that a little wrong. We're talking about performances, awards, vibes, legacy, all the good stuff there, and whether or not, this might be made as a movie today. And this season, we are doing things like we usually do on the month of March or around the Oscar time, and we do an Oscar-themed month where we are highlighting the 1996 movies that were nominated for Best Picture at the 97 Oscars with our theme, It's an Honor to Even Be Nominated. But before we jump into that, Ryan, have you ever seen Secrets and Lies before?
No, I've never seen this movie. I feel like I know the title from lists, but that's as far as it went. I'll talk about Mike Lee a little bit later, but no, it's the first time for me.
Yeah, so the same for me as well, and kind of the exact same reaction I had is like this has always been on lists. I think it's on Roger Ebert's great movies list that he has. So it's always been out there. It's 1001 list, and Mike Lee's got a couple of those movies on those lists. So first time ever watching a Mike Lee movie for me. Even have you seen many Mike Lee films?
So I don't think that I had an image in my head of him as a director, but when looking at his filmography, I love 3 films that he's made, and I've always wanted to see like 3 others. So clearly, like now he's on my radar as an entity that I kind of want to go when I find time to watch more Mike Lee movies. But I think the first one I saw in college was Happy Go Lucky, which introduced me to Sally Hawkins.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's a lot more lighthearted than this, but there's still some darkness and some like deep human trauma, I think, is in all of his movies. Vera Drake is a movie where Dolores Umbridge has been secretly doing abortions in like 1920s UK. And nobody, even her family, knows she's doing it. Based movie, really cool movie, and a movie starring Timothy Spall that I love deeply. It's a little smarmy, but Mr. Turner about the painter Jonathan Turner, who is a beautiful painter. I think I'm not an art snob. I don't think you have to be an art snob to like his paintings. Just Google them; they're all gorgeous looking paintings. It's about his life as like a iconoclast Dutch master as a painter. All 3 of those movies are wonderful. Secrets and Lies is wonderful. So I want to watch other things. He works with Jim Broadbent a lot, who is one of my favorite actors of all time. So to have this kind of talky, emotional movie where Jim Broadbent gets to like chew a lot of scenery would be awesome to watch.
And it seems like just like I said, I have not seen any of these movies. They have been on my list. They're on my watch list. Naked, starring David Thewlis, also Remus Lupin, if we're connecting the Harry Potter of it all. That's his first movie. That's on a bunch of lists. Topsy Turvy, I remember hearing about. I remember that being reviewed by Roger and Ebert specifically on their At the Movies broadcast when they were doing that. That's always been one I wanted to see. Vera Drake was always one I wanted to see. Happy Go Lucky, because I love Sally Hawkins so much. The other two, Mr. Turner and Hard Truths, I don't know quite as well, but hearing your high praise of Mr. Turner makes me want to look into that a little bit more. But it's almost like Mike Leigh gets nominated anytime he puts out, like, something gets nominated in that movie for an Academy Award. So guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah, totally. Another Year is one I've always wanted to see. And that's Jim Broadbent, and I forget the actress's name, but it's like Secrets and Lies meets like On Golden Pond, like an old couple.
Leslie Manville, who is in this movie as well. So he kind of has the, a cast of characters that he likes to put into his films time and time again. And he does that with some of his other movies, Timothy Spall, Leslie Manville, David Broadbent, Jim Broadbent, sorry. All these people that show up. So he knows what he likes. And I think like learning about this movie and the way it was filmed actually made me enjoy it more than on the first watch. Because there were times, like, I was watching it with Alyssa, we turned to each other and we're like, what is going on? Like, because there are a few moments like that where it's like, I don't know if I can do this for 2 hours and 30.
Well, the movie sticks out a lot, both for the podcast, but also like the Oscar nominations. And since we're a predominantly American podcast, we watch mostly American movies. So in the middle of 1996, in the middle of this Oscar season, and this quiet, talky, almost mumblecore, like middle class, middle age, emotional melodrama that's so beautifully shot as well, feels completely different than the things we're normally talking about.
Is Mike Leigh the father of mumblecore?
It is a little mumblecore-ish. I think the Americans
Cassavetes might be.
Yeah, Cassavetes back in the day, Jim Jarmusch a bit. But yeah, definitely. I think this is probably more in the tradition of like Ingmar Bergman a little bit.
Yeah.
And Woody Allen ripping off Ingmar Bergman of families. Usually those families are wealthier than these families, but kind of having these decades-long secrets and lies that just cannot hold any more time on them, and they have to come out. And what happens when they do?
Yeah. So, well, let's talk about it a little bit more. I'm going to go through some of the little statistics or facts about the movie before we jump into our categories. The movie's titled Secrets and Lies. It came out September 27th, 1996. It was written and directed by Mike Leigh. The cast, which we've already touched on a little bit, I'll go through the entire cast here. We've got Timothy Spall as Morris Purley, Phyllis Logan as Monica Purley, who is his wife, just to keep the husband and wife right there. Brenda Blethyn as Cynthia Rose Purley, that is Morris's sister. Claire Rushbrook as Roxanne Purley, that is Cynthia's daughter. Marianne Jean-Baptiste as Hortense Cumberbatch. Elizabeth Barrington as Jane. Michelle Austin as Dion. Lee Ross as Paul. Leslie Manville, just credited here as a social worker. And Ron Cook as Stuart. If you did not get a chance to see this movie, I'll give you a synopsis here that I pulled from Google. We'll see if it's any good. After her adoptive mother dies, Hortense, a successful black eye doctor. Oh, yeah, I guess that is important. I was like, man, why are they pointing that out there?
Yeah, that's pretty part of the movie, yeah.
Seeks out her birth mother. She's shocked when her research leads her to a lower-class white woman, Cynthia. At first, Cynthia denies the claim, but she eventually admits to birthing Hortense as a teenager, and the two begin to bond. However, when Cynthia invites Hortense to a family barbecue, Cynthia's already tense relationship with her family becomes even more complicated. This movie had a budget of $4.5 million and made $33 million at the box office, which is kind of great for what this movie is. Like, good job, because
it's got to be all salary and time, right? Like,
yeah,
paying hours and salaries, because it's beautifully shot, but very simply, it's very technically simple.
Yeah, but at $33 million at a box office is that blows me away a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, critics love this movie. It might be the highest rated one we've had of the Oscar nominated ones. 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. IMDb has this at an 8.0 out of 10, and Letterboxd has this at a 4.3 out of 5. It was a struggle to find any bad reviews. Like, Letterboxd is crazy with good, like 5 out of 5s on this movie.
Yeah.
Roger Ebert said Secrets and Lies, which won the Palme d'Or at Cannes, is a flowering of his technique. It moves us on a human level. It keeps us guessing during scenes as unpredictable as life. The visit, for example, of the former owner of the photography studio. And it shows us how ordinary people have a chance of somehow coping with their problems, which are rather ordinary too. I thought that was pretty good.
I think I had a couple things. Well, Roger Ebert also wrote that the fascination of eavesdropping is important to like enjoying this film. The very naturalistic way they talk, the tight rooms they live in. You are kind of a fly in the wall of family drama. And finding the rhythm of real life is again part of that performance. But the quote that you included, the shows how ordinary people have a chance of somehow coping with their problems, is a really good phrase, because it is the things that get resolved or are beginning to be resolved by the end of this movie feel impossible when real people carry weights of these kinds of secrets and stuff, and they feel but somehow life finds a way, and families go through these traumas and these revelations and this anger and these feelings, and even people who are considered to be like cold or maybe not as emotionally mature or even lower education a little bit, but not that that's the most important thing, like can find their way through these things. And it's like, it feels impossible in this movie for these characters to find their way to a good space, and then they all end up doing it.
And one thing I just as we're kind of talking about this review and everything and talking about the ordinary, this movie has so many opportunities to turn nasty. Like and be dramatic and be melodramatic is what we are used to with some of the movies that we've watched recently, but it doesn't take the easy way out to make this like a racist or screaming match between the mother and daughter. Like we get a little bit of that, but it does feel more realistic and ordinary.
Yeah, absolutely. The movie refuses to pick sides. And it won't let you pick sides either. It forces you to care about everybody and see everything from everybody's point of view, which, while this is a melodrama, this is a definitional melodrama, melodramatic as a bad term to describe a movie plot, lacks that aspect. That this is really this is almost God watching humans sympathizing with everybody and forcing you to sympathize with everybody from afar. Like, let's just get to a good place. You all deserve it.
But not only sympathizing, but being there and being like, and having disdain for each of the characters too. You're like, oh, that, like I kept waiting for certain things to happen with other like Morris. I kept expecting there to be like a relationship that Morris was hiding because of his complicated relationship with his wife. That never happened. But also like, I kind of went off on a wrong tangent there, but can't remember what it was. Oh, well. Anyway, I did find a counterpoint review to this by Rob Vo. Don't know who Rob Vo is, but he said terribly overrated, but for Brenda Blithen's devastating realization midway through. That's what he said.
Sure.
That's all right. Well, I already kind of spoiled a little bit of the legacy. So this is our Palme d'Or winner, which is a pretty big deal at the Cannes Film Festival. This was also nominated for 5 Academy Awards, lost all of them, but it was nominated for Best Picture, Best Actress for Brenda Blethyn, Best Supporting Actress for Hortense, Best Original Screenplay, and Best Director. And there also, this film was the subject of positive pickets by adult adoptee rights organization Bastard Nation, which used it as a vehicle to raise awareness of sealed birth records in the U.S. and Canada. So they used this movie as a positive thing. Positive pickets. Cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Anything else that I might have missed out? I usually don't ever go over the Palme d'Or things, but or Cannes Film Festival stuff. But yeah, when you're the actual Palme d'Or winner, I feel like you gotta
say it. Yeah,
you gotta say it.
Kind of a big deal. Yeah, and I bet that's probably a big reason why it did get the Best Picture nomination. I mean, I guess they gave some foreign films nominations then, but they usually weren't of this ilk, I guess. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but this doesn't feel like something that the Academy would naturally pick unless there was a lot of international energy behind it already.
Yeah, and I mean, Mike Leigh isn't a name at this point either. Like, he's got Naked out, and I mean, yes, that is critically loved, but still, like, that was only 2 years or 3 years prior to this, and yeah, he's not been established yet. So I mean, it has to be because of the Palme d'Or thing.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
And a Palme d'Or movie that's in English. America's like, let's go. We're smart too. Watch us be smart.
That's they're like, we've nominated enough Forrest Gumps. Now we can add one of these special ones in here. Well, let's get into our movie a little bit and talk about some of the scenes that really pop out to you.
Yeah, so this one I thought would be very difficult, but on my second watch, I found it pretty easy to pick only 5 scenes. It's a long movie, and we could talk. I mean, it definitely could stand to be a little bit shorter, although we could talk later about how its length doesn't feel that long, and which it should. It should feel longer than it is. At least that's my take. But a lot of the cinematography and the music really helps it move along a lot better. But there's only
I will disagree when we get to one part. The music was my least favorite part of this whole movie.
Oh, okay, sure, yeah. So the first of the 5 I have is just because it's important is that there's a collection of scenes at the very beginning that set everything up. So you see Hortense, who is a young Black woman who's an optometrist. You see her at the funeral at the very beginning of her adopted mother, which leads into later on my second scene, which is her going to adoption agency to find her birth mother. But in that first sequence of scenes, you meet Maurice and Monica. He's a photographer, pretty friendly guy. Monica seems a little cold. There's a lot of tension when they talk to each other. And they talk about having a niece, Roxanne, who they love but haven't seen in a long time. Her 21st birthday coming up. They should have her over. And then you meet Roxanne and Cynthia, Roxanne's mom, and they don't get along. And then like setting all of those people up who are going to start like spiraling around and crashing into each other is my first scene. Yeah,
and in that introduction of characters, I think we are, we're already set, like you said, we get a good idea of everybody. We get that Monica is, more of a cold a wife. We get that Timothy Spall's character is is friendly, warm. I love every time that there are those photo interstitials in there.
So good.
They're so good. I love those. They don't even
speak to the movie. I think it's just him playing around. But yeah, as a family photographer or for anything, a person who just runs a photography studio, there's these throughout the first third of the movie, a few different montages of him taking pictures of people and talking to them and them reacting, and they're all different. And it's really beautiful filmmaking. Yeah. It has nothing to do with the plot of this movie. It's just really nice.
No, and then we get to that part, we get to that one scene where the final of those little scenes with him taking pictures is the woman with the scar on her face.
Yeah, which I think is also brilliant filmmaking and maybe doesn't need to be in this movie and has nothing to do with the rest of the movie, really.
And then it just gets us right into the Stewart scene. But
yeah,
I really enjoy the Hortense scene with the social worker, which I think you have down as your second.
Yeah, that's my second scene.
But going back to the first, introducing us, we get Cynthia, who is going to be the main part of our movie. Mm-hmm. And you already get introduced to her as kind of, I wanted to diagnose her this entire, the whole movie. I was like, what is wrong? She got BPD. Does she have, is she?
I don't know. I mean, I think she might be diagnosable. I mean, to the degree that we all are.
Right.
I feel like in a very sad way, she reminds me of a lot of women I've known through neighbors, through working, and through my family. And there's certainly male versions of this that tend to play out a little differently, but she seems lonely and it makes her, she seems very lonely, very unconfident, very unengaged, and she wavers between playing the victim or being kind of a jerk.
Yeah.
Never too much of either, because this movie keeps its characters pretty grounded in reality, so it's not over the top. But yeah, so I didn't think of her as having a problem other than here's a meek woman who's kind of crying for help but not doing it very well.
Well, I also think there's some generational trauma that's going on there that we do not get we get ounces and little sentences here and there throughout the whole film that kind of this is why at the beginning I was like, what is wrong with this woman? But as we go through and we see her with Hortense, or we see her with her other daughter, and then we see them interacting, we see how she is with her brother, we learn these little things about her dad and their family growing up. The mom died when they were all young, and then the dad didn't really care that much. And so all these
And
little
through her having Roxanne, Maurice had to step up and help with the childcare, even though he was only 17.
yeah.
All of that stuff. And you're right, you do just get like a sentence at a time to paint that picture, which goes back to what you were saying earlier. Like, it doesn't rise to campy melodrama. It keeps it so like you really do have to put those pieces together. Uh, and the other thing, like, it would also be easy for her to be more monstrous or more pathetic. It'd be easy to make a character like Cynthia have a bad drinking problem.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like she does, but I think like an average version of it, like you give this like story to an average director or screenwriter, and you're gonna make all those mistakes. The race is gonna be upfront and very like aggressive. The drinking problem, the anger, the villainizing is gonna be a lot.
There's going to be
hotter.
abuse. There's going to be all these things in there, and they don't
Gonna
give
be
you
all
that.
the dirty details instead
Yeah.
of implying that there's just something sad and missing and traumatic in the past.
Yeah. And this is why I think I enjoyed the movie like I did and it left me with something. Like, I kept going back and being like, oh, this is why this happened. Like, all those little breadcrumbs that we get throughout the movie are, like we were saying, grounded, but also develop the characters along the way to make them full characters that I just keep thinking about after the movie's over. Like,
Right. And I mean, this movie is an exercise in like patience and paying attention. And it can be difficult, especially if you don't watch a lot of talky movies or long, slow talky movies. But I do think that I'm the quickest to criticize bad pacing or over length. But I really liked this one because in a movie, especially because the acting's brilliant and natural, where not much seems to be happening in a scene, all of a sudden, very naturally, one little piece of a puzzle falls off and it becomes fascinating. And you're like, oh, well, that scene only had like a few little hidden clues to the whole picture, but locking in and catching them was more fun than an exposition dump would have been.
Yeah, absolutely. So second scene we had is Hortense and the social worker, which I think in the beginning, I know there's some facts around this. This was kind of like a throwaway scene.
Yeah.
And then Mike Leigh was like, it's not working. I'm going to get my friend Leslie Manville to come in here and beef this up a little bit and give me like her how she would respond to it. And I think it really, I love this scene. I love this
Yeah,
interaction.
it's really good. It's really well acted between the two of them. There's some tension there where you're sympathizing with both characters, but you're not sure if they're talking to each other well, but then it never comes out that they're not. Leslie Manville's kind of like naturalistic style is like all the actors are providing little things that are entertaining to make sure that you don't lose track, you don't stop watching the movie. And I think this is a good scene where it's pretty long one as far as movie scenes go, not the longest in the movie, but yeah, it's so good. It's just a woman who's sitting there, and it feels very realistic. Like, all right, I do this every day. I've done this 10 times today. I'm gonna do it 10 times tomorrow. You want to find your birth mother. Well, because of this law, you can. I have this for you. I want to ask you a few questions. Why do you want to do this? How do you feel about this? Like, when did you learn that you were adopted? That kind of thing, to try to head off of the past. Obviously, like emotional mistakes that she's seen people make, but not be too pushy. And at one point says, look, you have to prepare yourself. This woman may not want to see you, and we recommend you go through us if you want to contact her, because we do that professionally, kind of thing. But she's never being cruel or condescending or rushing her. She's very warm and sympathetic, and then gives Hortense all these files where she learns her birth name, and details about her mother.
Yeah, and exactly what you said there. Like, it is the fact that Leslie Manville creates a character that is warm, that you do know in real, like, this person does this job in real life, that they have done this 10 times that day and have gone down the rabbit hole and seen the disasters that happen when people go looking for their birth parents and like they're not wanted, or there's some there's a honeymoon period and then there's a big blow up at the end. Like, she's seen it all before, and you get that in this like 5-minute scene, a talking scene, whatever it is. I don't even know how long it is, because I think the other scene is 8 minutes. The diner scene is like 8 minutes of content.
It's not the longest. I don't think it's the second longest either, but it does take its time, because I think other movies that would take on a plot like this would make this a quick scene, and the social worker would be either callously cold or so perfect and scripted that they're like out of an HR video.
Yeah.
And instead of taking its time with this in this very human moment and putting a human person across from Hortense who's going through this so that we can empathize with both of them, like it makes it so much better of a scene than most people would think to make it.
Yeah, so I really think that, you know, adding the two actors in there, and him making whatever change he did, replacing the actor with Leslie Manville, adds a warmth, and it sets us up for kind of, you know, the end scene of what we're gonna get, or her reaching out the first time on the phone and getting the response from Cynthia that we get. So we get all of those that we think is going to happen from this social worker scene.
And it should be said, because we kind of hinted around it, but I don't know if we said it outright, that this movie is highly improvisational. That Mike Leigh spent a lot of time with actors and gave them a lot of time and practice with their characters and their feelings and their situation, but didn't have a hard script for them to follow. So they found the right words through constant and repeated improvisation. Which gives it a great feeling.
I think his style is like, well, with this, he met with each of them individually and told them, hey, here's what your character is going to be doing at the beginning of the film. And then they do a lot of improvisation at the throughout the movie while filming the secret, or learning about the secrets for the very first time, kind of learning all that stuff. But like his style is to do like a big read through, or just kind of like not a read through, but like a workshop, and say, okay, here's where we're at with it. And then he like writes it down.
Yeah, he writes from the rehearsal process through it rather than before it.
It feels like
it has to be great as an actor. It has to be so much fun, rewarding, hard work, but to be a collaborator in your own story and in your own character, and then to find each other while you're doing that would be very intimidating for a lot of actors who basically just read lines well, but would be so rewarding for an actor that wants to do that work.
Yeah, I would love to see like a behind the scenes, like making of, seeing them come to find their character in the moment. Like, I feel like this is very much something that happens in plays sometimes. Maybe not one, obviously plays have words and they're already written down, but like you see like people, you know, change it up a little bit, or, hey, why would my character respond this way? Like, and with movies, it's so different because it's like, we're shooting out a sequence. We're doing scenes at a time. Maybe we do a scene over multiple days. So it's unique to see this kind of process here. So I'd love to see like, behind the scenes, or Criterion behind the scenes or something.
Totally. More full narratives about what it was like to work on something like this. And when we talk about like this weird antagonism between small independent film and like big budget stuff, like that's one of the things we're talking about. It's not like, I like big budget things, but I don't love them near as much as I love films like this. And one of the things is, it's easy to say I don't like the cartoon dinosaurs, because I don't like the cartoon dinosaurs ever. They're all dumb to me. They never scare me. They never thrill me. They're all dumb to me. But like that's the other part of it, is like there cannot be any like captured moments in those kinds of films, because they are just it's a Disney ride on tracks, and nothing can go wrong. If one bolt falls out, it costs us $1 billion. So like, you got to do what we got to do in this time, and that's what we do. And that doesn't mean you can't make good film that way, but to have the limited budget and the limited space and the commitment from actors and support to be able to workshop, like you said, which is a thing that's done in theater a lot more. Like, you have a script of a play, but getting in a room and like doing it 5 different times with low pressure means you can find each other's characters and like find yourself in relation to them, which is really cool.
Yeah. And even in speaking to what you're saying, like I am glad that there's a movie like this that I am watching now, because even while I was watching this, I felt my patience, tested a little bit. Not through, like, I think of it like one moment at the end of this movie where Hortense and Roxanne are looking into that like beat up shed or whatever, and like I was like, what are we doing? Like, they said their line and then they're just staring at it, and I was like, okay, come on. Like, I found myself doing that, and that's because of what we're kind of conditioned to do. Now it's like, okay, this isn't supposed to be, we're at the end, we've had resolution, what are we doing here? So like, even I felt like there were times where I was just like, okay, come on. But
in this movie,
but understand what they're doing with that moment and moments like that throughout the movie. So What's your next scene?
When Morris comes and finally visits Cynthia in the house, and you get you finally see these two characters together. You've got to know them pretty well separately at this
Mhm.
point. But he's visiting his sister who he hasn't seen in a long time, knowing that she's kind of a lot, but having a big heart for her. Clearly, that's his big sister. They've been through a lot together, and he never seems to have much contempt for her. He has a lot of sympathy and understanding, even when he's pointing out things that she does wrong or should do differently. But finds her, surprises her. She kind of has that thing that lonely people will have sometimes, where it's, I'm so glad to see you. I want you so bad, but also screw you. Why haven't you been here? And why aren't you calling me more? I want more, and I'm mad at you for not giving me any. But I also want everything you have so much.
I
Uh,
I
but
had
it's
this.
yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
sorry. No. I had this scene down too, as my next scene. And one of the things that this one feels the most like they are improving in the moment to me. Because like there aren't lines, there aren't things, because they are stumbling over each other a little bit, and like their interactions are weird. They feel like a brother and sister, but also a brother and sister that are distant, or a little bit estranged from
They
each
feel
other.
both very comfortable with each other and very awkward.
Yes, it
Yeah.
felt so awkward.
Mhm.
In a way that, like, I imagine, if not, I don't have this kind of relationship with my sisters, but like some of the stuff in there, I was like, yeah, that's how it would be if my sister hugged me or
Mhm.
did anything. So it would be really awkward. But go ahead. Sorry, I stepped on your toes a little bit
No,
there.
no. I think I was just rambling about what's in there because there's a lot of talk that's just catch up, and it's very natural catch up what families would do, like half interested, but just asking how you're doing, how's Roxanne doing, how's work, all of that stuff. They talk about the house and the house falling apart. It's clearly the house that they both grew up in, I think.
Hmm.
Um, and so that's part of it. But in between there's these little very comfortable scenes that don't. It may be awkward, but it's not miserable for them to say, man, do you remember like when I had a baby at 21? Do you remember when you were taking care, like changing his diapers at 17? And like, life's kind of rough, isn't it? They say these kinds of things in between very casually.
Yeah.
And because they've kind of been through some war together, I think they can say that casually and accept it casually without having a whole blow up about it or anything.
Yeah, and then there's that scene at the end, or that part at the end where he's giving her money, and she didn't ask for money or anything, and it seems like this is kind of their relationship. He comes over every, like several months at this point. I don't know, year, I don't know, and they go through this whole rigmarole, and then it seems like this has been something that's happened before, because she doesn't protest too much to it. And I feel like somebody who that is a new thing that has happened would maybe protest a little bit, like,
Yeah.
to receiving money from her, like, oh no, I'm fine, you don't need to do that kind of thing. And she doesn't really give us that news. So it tells me that this has happened before.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. That makes sense. And you get a little bit of comments from Monica because this from Maurice's perspective doesn't really come to till the very end of the movie, in the loudest moment of the movie, kind of.
Mhm.
But you hear some things from Monica that, like, she never says anything about Cynthia that isn't a bit backbiting,
Mhm.
and considers her messy, annoying, cloying, pitiful. And Cynthia is all those things a little bit, but Morris sees like how and why and the person underneath all of that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there's a little bit of and as the movie rolls on and they try to plan Roxanne's birthday and they talk about that kind of stuff, there is this like a little bit of not crazy tension, but a little bit of tension of when Monica and Cynthia have to be together and
Yeah.
Morris gets stuck in the middle.
Yeah. It's always like Monica, or you already said this part about, but Cynthia sees Monica as like hoity-toity, uppity, everything has to be nice and neat and perfect, and she spends money and doesn't have a job and all this, like, and
Mhm.
whereas Cynthia does have a job. She we barely see it, but Cynthia does have a job and is supporting her kid and everything, and Morris is supporting his wife. So there's a
Mhm.
little bit of tension there from Cynthia, and right, I mean, in her mind,
They are
rightfully so.
opposites.
Yeah, they are complete opposites there. So
That is everything that, like, when you kind of grown up or gone through what Cynthia has, like trying to live that neatly feels like an impossibility and also an insult to life itself.
Yeah.
We don't get a lot of Monica's background, but we do get important information from her later.
Mhm.
That adds a lot of empathy to her situation and why she may be living the way she is. But it is like, oh, she's too good for us. She's too good for our family. And she also stole the last member of my family away, which she's feeling at the time that Roxanne's turning 21 and can't stand her mother.
Yeah.
So she's definitely feeling more isolated than ever.
I didn't have any scenes because Monica's not really in it except for like the birthday party is like Monica's biggest scene because it takes
Right.
place
That's
at
like
their
8
house.
scenes in one. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't have anything written down for Monica, but we do see those moments with Monica. We see a couple good things between her and Morris. Not good necessarily, but like when Morris comes home from work and Monica's, or it might be after this, when Monica's cleaning the house, like we get a little bit of tension between her and Morris there. And I think that's a really good scene, an important scene that
The
sets up.
tension is pretty intense. And then it's like the worst you get between them.
Yeah.
Because later on, she's kind of also constantly upset at him or taking frustrations out on him. But it's not as gross as it is at the beginning. At the beginning, it's like, why are you looking at me?
Yeah.
Oh, well, why would I want that glass? Or why would I can pour my own drink, asshole? Like it's kind of more in the beginning. It doesn't really make sense that it's a little less later on. Because later on, it's like, oh, I need some painkillers and but like Morris will like laugh at her a little bit, and he doesn't get like, the shit beat out of him for laughing at her being that way. There's like moments, little tiny details that kind of soften that. Still not a great relationship. It's still kind of contentious, mostly from him onto her, her onto him. But later on, there's some. You don't feel like he's you're worried for him as much as you
Right. Yeah. He doesn't respond in a way that you're like, oh my God, this is the first time he's ever been yelled at by her or chastised for doing something for her or whatever. Like he in the middle of all of it, he is constantly moving and doing something. Like whenever he's getting her water bag or that water bag, I can never remember what those things are called, but like getting all that for her. She was vacuuming right in the front of the door. That was kind of annoying.
Yeah. Oh, wow. You just open the door? It's like, yeah, it's a door.
You didn't hear me vacuuming behind no, I can't. Like
I guess Hoovering's a spectator sport now.
Jeez, man. It was a little. Monica was pretty hard to like in the beginning of this movie.
And this all between them comes to light, like we said later in the last scene. Some of that comes to light retroactively. But Morris also doesn't seem like he's trying to like fix that situation. He's kind of like bearing it. But you do get that the scenes of him being a happy, warm photographer versus the scenes of him just kind of like bearing under Monica's unhappiness or biting comments, like give a contrast. But he doesn't seem like he's miserable and he wants out, he's given up or anything. He's just like, this is my wife. This is what she does sometimes, how she acts. I just kind of get along to get along. But he doesn't seem to know how to fix whatever's wrong with her.
Yeah. And we do get like a little bit of Monica scene in the Stewart at the studio scene that like she's just there. And it is like just them living and she's not being, mean during that segment. She is just like an observer in that situation of Morris at work, knowing that like watching him do it. So it's like she does pop by every once in a while and come to see Morris. And there is a normalcy to their relationship a little bit. We aren't ever getting tons of those things. We do keep getting these breadcrumbs that all come to the head.
It's more realistic. Like if you're in a relationship and you're not getting along, or there's some dark cloud hanging over a relationship and you're less happy with each other than you usually are, and nobody knows why you're sad or both of you are, like that's how real relationships kind of turn sour or are in like valleys at times. So it's so much better than, again, like a lot of movies would say we have to like crank the melodrama up to 11, which also happens in real relationships, but like is less grounded in the human condition and more grounded in like very specific. They're like action movies of emotion, like these are extraordinary versions of the things that we all go through.
Yeah. Next scene I had was the diner scene.
Me too. Yeah.
Which I think is probably one of the defining moments of this movie. It's just those two in camera, centered in the shot.
As long as you have the context, which I think if you get in front of the diner, before the diner, that could be a short film all on its own. It doesn't need any of the rest of the movie. Yeah.
But yeah, just Hortense and Cynthia sitting in a diner booth. sharing the information that they have, and Hortense being like, "Hey, you're my mom," and she's like, "No, I'm not. Look at me."
Yeah.
And it takes Cynthia a couple more, minutes to realize, "Oh shit, I am your mom." Like, they
Mhm.
didn't screw anything up here. I already verified all this stuff. You're my mom.
And again,
Um,
these breadcrumbs that are important practically, but not important to the scene come out. Like you get these half sentences from Cynthia, like, "Oh, I thought you were 6 weeks premature. I thought your dad was somebody else. Now I realize your dad's this person."
yeah.
And then you have to see through Hortense's eyes, like the half remembered human tragedy of a 15-year-old making all those mistakes and feeling disgusted by it, but also like empathizing with it and like not knowing what you're supposed to feel because you're the baby who was given up and you're coming to finally for the very first time meet the person who gave you up and they're going through it as well as you going through it and you have to watch that and watch them like talk to themselves about the details of that process. It's very intense.
And I think that there's like one thing about this scene is like Cynthia doesn't always respond in the most, obviously Cynthia's, kind of messy a little bit, but like doesn't respond always in the most tactful way. Like when saying like, "Oh, I made a mistake," or, and your mistake is sitting right next to you. Like, it's crazy. Yeah, I knew this was going to come up. Do you sit next to someone or across from someone you just met? Yeah, I did think it was an interesting choice, but I liked it. I like the way it's framed that way.
I mean, if you're eating mushy peas 3 times a day, you're probably not doing shit right,
I mean, Marge wouldn't let Mike Yanagita sit next to her, so. But yeah, like what Cynthia says is not always the best thing when Hortense is sitting right there next to her, and sometimes saying the wrong thing in the moment. But then you do see, you have those sentences when Cynthia is going through it and saying like, I didn't even ask to see you. Like, I didn't want to see you. I didn't want to, like, didn't even know there's a sheet up kind of thing. Like, I don't know what you look like. I didn't have any idea. Surely you couldn't be who you are sitting next to me. So
Totally. Yeah, and it keeps the tension high because it's not just are you going to try to be warm or are you going to try to run away at the beginning and then that's that question answered. There are continuous questions as they are failing to have a smooth conversation about an unsmooth thing that like each sentence makes me feel new things about like, well, how is she going to feel about that? I don't think you meant it that way, but don't you mean to say this, Cynthia? Um, I, one of the criticisms I could make about this movie, but I think it's good the way they did it, is that Hortense speaks rarely and emotes rarely. She seems to just be kind of a spectator of everything that's happening.
yeah.
And that lets people like Cynthia or others in the last scene like kind of go off and have all of their moments where she just kind of sits there listening and nodding or watching or doing nothing. So here you're waiting for Hortense to react to a single thing that Cynthia's like blabbering.
Yeah, the thing about Hortense in this, I agree with you, is that she is kind of our way. She is the spectator. She is the one that is doing all that. Like, it's so unique. Like, I find her character fascinating. We get to see her interact with a few people outside of the Pearly family. We see her with her friend in one scene, and then we see her after the day of the funeral or whatever, where we see her brothers fighting downstairs. But that's it. This
A
woman
little bit
has
of her in the office. Like the first time you see her is her talking to a kid and being good at her job, kind of to mirror Morris's at the photo shop.
yeah.
But that's it. You don't get a lot of Hortense other than that. She does talk about herself and dealing with her mom being gone, but she seems so capable.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm not going out much. I just don't know what I want to do. I don't know if I want kids yet, but she doesn't seem scared of any of these questions or what's going on.
But she doesn't have like a support system at all. Like, there's nobody that she's going through this with. Yes, she mentions it to her friend, and her friend is like, "Hey, I don't know about that." But like outside of that, we never see that friend pop up again. And from that point on, it is just like going to find Cynthia and then being just, a tsunami of Pearly just all over her. So I think
she's warm and she's very kind to Cynthia.
Yes. Oh,
very
yeah.
understanding. Even when she has a right, like towards the end of the movie and a couple times in the middle, like to say, hey, that's screwed up. Don't do that. Like, she doesn't ever say it that way if she says it at all. And so it's kind of an enigma. Now, I mean, we can talk about this for a second. Mike Leigh, I did read a quote that he did one of the things he wanted to write about. I think mainly he wanted to write about adoption in a fictitious environment, is what he said. And he was fascinated about the human elements of that. But he did want to write about race a bit too. And he said I mean, to paraphrase him, he said like a generation of young Black people who I think he said were like, getting away from ghetto stereotypes was the quote I read, which I don't think that's exactly what he wanted to say or meant to say, or he meant something else. But I think he meant more like in a more integrated way, like where British society is becoming more integrated with like higher education for Black UK people, which means like you have optometrists and Black neighbors that are way richer than their white neighbors, kind of thing. This movie doesn't talk about race very much.
No.
And nobody in this movie, maybe a couple looks, like from Monica when she first shows up for dinner, you could definitely interpret as being surprised that there's a Black person in my house or that that's who's coming over. But there's nothing said outright. If anything, like if I had to like do Mike Leigh's work for him, you could speak to like some Black experience in a white majority country being a little tougher skinned and being a little curious and fascinated. This woman's going through all of this grief and loneliness and is watching this middle-class white family spiral and unable to control their trauma. But I don't know if that's purposeful or not. And I'm kind of glad this movie doesn't talk more about race.
Yeah.
It does talk about it, does really well. And I just don't know if Mike Leigh, as a director in 1996 in Britain, really would have said much better than he did about adoption and family trauma.
Leave race to the Americans. We know what we're doing.
or maybe the people of color too, like
we know how to screw it up.
It is kind of Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. Yeah,
it's true. Well,
Guess Who's Coming to the family reunion.
Guess who's coming to Roxanne's 21st birthday party? What's your next scene?
Well, then it's the end. It's the big end scene. It's the last one I have.
I did want to mention the steward at the studio scene just because I find it like both weird in this movie. Again,
necessary, I think.
Not necessary at all, though. But it is so fascinating to watch this guy who used to own the building, not even the photography business, owned an antique store, is what it sounded like from the conversation. And
I thought it
was he the photographer?
Business.
Oh, he is a photographer because he asked for the camera.
I used to do 140 in a year or whatever.
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
But it starts out so weird. We get introduced to Jane in this scene. Jane, the assistant.
I love Jane.
Jane, she's incredible. But like,
this is also really fun if you like British people.
Yeah,
if you like British people being British, you get a lot of it. Like,
yeah.
The way that they're like tacky but always polite in certain things. Obviously, these are like stereotypes or whatever, but these are very grounded people, and it's very believable that this is like a British way of speaking or talking to each other. They're both very like casual and tactful at the same time in this movie. It's sometimes just like little turns of phrases or the way people talk to each other is fascinating.
Prior to Stewart showing up at the studio, we do get that scene with Morris and the last like photography scene with Morris and the woman who had the scar on her face, who obviously was attacked. And we learn a lot. We learn a lot about that woman in the scene, and we see Morris kind of do his shtick thing that he tends to do. He's moved hair out of a woman's face before, or a girl's face, and he goes to do it to her, and she recoils. But then we still get to see a good side of Morris and like an understanding, empathetic side of Morris, where he is learning so much more about her, asking questions.
He's so brave. Like he's so brave in that scene because he doesn't even think to. He doesn't seem scared of accidentally offending her. So I mean, but either it's because he's confident in his own like warmth and that everybody responds to that, or because he's confidently like this woman's strong. She doesn't need me to like protect her like she's in a bubble. But he asks like where she got her scars and just talks about life sucks sometimes or whatever, and it never comes across as cold or intrusive. It's so weird. It's such a good scene, and there's no reason it's in this
there's
movie.
no reason that it needs to be in this movie,
No
other than to just add warmth to Morris.
Again,
honestly.
like it makes me want to go like full art movie and like try to find like a thematic element of scars and like what that means. But I don't think that's really what's going on here. But it could be. That could be why Mike Leigh likes this scene or likes the next scene, which is even more useless.
Well,
but I don't see
yeah,
it.
but it leads right into it because then the woman leaves the thing, and then we see a man oogling her from a park bench, and they're like, "Oh, this pervert, he's been out there for a while. He was watching me when I came in," and then that pervert just starts walking into to the store, which leads us to Stuart and that him just explaining his troubles and going through everything, and again just adding more warmth again to Morris and like understanding like, hey, this is my place, you're not gonna steamroll me, you sold
Yeah,
it
he's
to
not a
me.
pushover. As nice as he is.
He's not a pushover, but he still like extends him the ability to hear him out. He's offers him a camera or whatever, or he asks for a camera, he's like, yeah, whatever, I'll get you out of here. And then they just watch him walk on his way. So just an interesting thing about seeing somebody else's troubles in this moment maybe has something to do with it. I don't know. I don't know. It is kind of useless. We could do without it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So
there are 3 or 4 useless scenes in this movie for a long movie that I would cut out, but then cutting them out's also like, that's a really good scene. I like watching that scene. It just doesn't need to be here.
A lot of little short films could be made out of these things.
Yeah.
The birthday party.
Yeah, so the birthday party, I don't know how long it actually takes. I mean, it's kind of multiple scenes. It's not quite real time, but it feels that way.
Yeah.
At the end of the movie. And it just stretches from tense, polite hellos between the characters as everybody's now in the same house for Roxanne's 21st birthday. Some nice, like, small talk. The patio scene I found to be very warm and beautiful. Like, I felt like they were like real people and a real family who were happy to be spending their afternoon there. None of them were like, oh, I wish I was watching television right now. You got Roxanne's boyfriend doesn't need to be there either.
I love that they set 7 people around that tiny patio table.
Yeah.
With no other, like, they knew they were going to have 6, but we were like, nah, let's just get them out. We have 7 here now. We're good. Yeah. I thought that was funny. Whatever they were eating is hilarious too.
Oh yeah. Morris, the grill master, just brings like just buckets of meat and just pours it on top of the meat he brought before.
Just puts the steak on a fork and just carries it over. I was like, there's nothing more realistic than a man at a grill just with steak confidently, not even putting it on a plate, just walking it over.
Here you go, like, drops it on the plate. Yeah. And everybody's so nice, and they don't like, this feels very improvised, but nobody's talking over each other. And but there are these little moments that feel like backbiting comments, or you can definitely watch Cynthia start to unravel. Because she's trying to play host, but she's not the host, or she makes little, she's overly defensive of everything that everybody asks Hortense, who she's brought here, not telling them that, she's her daughter, just saying it's a friend from work. So she's like, you can see like all of her tension kind of bleeding into each other. Her daughter's an asshole to her. But all of that is couched into what seems like a very pleasant and nice dinner.
And then it all goes wrong because Cynthia just gets a brilliant idea to just go scorched earth and just say, yeah, that's my daughter in the bathroom.
Now, like, you're right. I mean, there's no reason to do this. Everybody should be mad at her for doing this. She decides, after inviting Hortense, saying, we won't tell him you're my daughter, on her other daughter's 21st birthday, just saying, I'm going to drop this in the middle of everybody's fun, is kind of crazy.
Was there a trigger? I can't remember if there was like a trigger that was like...
Well, that's what I was going to say. On my second viewing, I noticed it a little more. It's pretty subtle, but like, she is upset that Monica and Maurice give her a lot of money. And she's like, well, I don't have my present's at home. And he's like, well, you can give it to her tomorrow. And earlier, Roxanne's like, we're not coming by tomorrow. We're going to go out and drink, me and my boyfriend. And she goes, well, so when Maurice says, you can give her a present tomorrow on her actual birthday. She's like, I don't have, I might not even see her on her actual birthday because she's not coming around. I think there's 1 or 2 other little comments that if you pay attention, like add up to her, this growing feeling that she's the pathetic one in this group. She's the bad mother, even to the kid she kept,
Yeah. And she's like, oh, well, I've been hanging out with this other daughter of mine. And she likes
it is like selfish and mean because at first it's like, oh, Hortense, everybody's like, Hortense seems really nice. And she's like, yeah, she takes after her mother. Like, I don't know that she takes after you really, but
no, I don't think so.
And that's me. Everything you like about her is because of me.
We look alike. She said that at one point in the movie. Like, I think you take after me.
Yeah, like, they had the same build, which I don't think is necessarily true either, but maybe closer to the truth.
Yeah, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah, it's a weird thing to say.
But then obviously, like, Roxanne flips the hell out. Like, hey,
A little too hard.
yeah, and then like storms out. Paul obviously has to follow.
Like, I don't know what it would be like, but you know, and everybody's different. So like she's frustrated at her mother. She's a frustrated 21-year-old. But when I was 21, and even if that happened on my birthday, I'd be like, wait, this is my brother? This is my sister? I wouldn't necessarily call my mom a slut and then like tell my new sister that it's all her fault for spoiling my birthday. That's some like 14-year-old behavior, not 21-year-old behavior. But that's okay. Like people are different, right?
She is a little childish. Roxanne
she's a little childish.
Yeah,
and I was a little surprised by how intensely she reacted.
But yeah, she's like, I've went just thinking about it, I've went years not knowing my father because of my mother not telling me or not being able to provide me that information. And then you're telling me you have another person that, I'm going to go for the one thing that's going to hurt you the most. I'm going to call you a slag. I'm going to call you close your legs, whatever, all those things. Cause I'm coming out to hurt you. You already hurt me enough. And then you're going to hurt me again on my birthday while I'm being celebrated by people that love me and care about me. And give me, the attention. Like,
you're right. And there's a scene early on where Roxanne, the very first scene with Roxanne and Cynthia, it's kind of like Morris and Monica. They are way more brutal to each other at the beginning of the movie than they are in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning of the movie, it's like, you better use protection. Like, you don't want to have a baby. And it's like, I wouldn't want to be a mother like you. And she's like, well, I wish I never had you. Like, I mean, it's pretty brutal at the beginning of the movie. But none of the other scenes between them, they are like at odds with each other, but none of them are that brutal later.
Yeah, but it's because Cynthia's distracted with Hortense. She's going out now, and she's just like, all right, leave you to it.
Seems to think it's kind of cute and funny. Like she doesn't seem upset about it really, because she's not like craving her mom. She wants to get away from her.
So. But
yeah, Roxanne loses. She gets really mad, screams at everybody. Maurice and Monica for not telling her mom for not telling her, and Hortense for ruining her birthday. Runs out, and Morris follows her. And Paul, her boyfriend, who's there.
And Morris delivers his line, which we'll get to, but like his big moment where they say the title of the film.
Yeah, you gotta love when they say the name of the movie.
I was like,
well, there's other things. I mean, Cynthia starts to attack Monica while they're gone about like stealing her family, trying to steal her daughter, stealing Morris. Mentions like another little breadcrumb of like, you stole dad from me before he died. He liked you more than like you were maybe Cynthia feels like, oh, Monica's the daughter that my dad wishes, he had. Then you get the reveal of Monica's infertility,
right? Which we all knew. Like you knew watching the movie. You're like, that's what's causing the issues. But yeah, the big reveal that the other people do not know, that Cynthia certainly does not know, and
that explains a lot of things. Not only the coldness of like trying to deal with that, but also like the throwing yourself at building the perfect house, trying to make sure that the life, even if you can't have the life that you wanted. In terms of having children, that she can have like the best life she's trying to have, which makes that like a more understandable like quality. And I mean, at one point when she just kind of says, and that makes Cynthia actually go hug Monica, the two biggest enemies in this movie, right? Hug her, and then she says, "Oh, Cynthia, you don't know how lucky you are. Like, even if you feel like you have a kid who hates you and a kid you gave up, you got two kids."
A kid,
like it's pretty devastating. A lot of parts of the scene,
and then everything gets resolved. And Hortense is just there, just sitting there with Jane. And this is like, if I were Hortense, I would have left a long time ago. She even says that she's going to leave a couple times. And I think Cynthia's like, you stay or whatever, and watch this unfold. Hortense is just there. Because, I mean,
and then Maurice, the god, like goes over and like comforts Hortense and tries to make light of it. It's like, welcome to the family, Like,
doesn't he like touch her arm at one point? And she's like, not for me.
Yeah. I mean, he's trying to comfort her, and then
he's doing the thing that he's done with the photos the whole time. He's like, oh, here's how I make it
weird. I think she moves away, and he's like, okay, that's fine. Yeah, like
no, I'd never said like I don't think Morris is being weird, but she was like, not the right time. For this, you're my uncle, but you're not my uncle right now. Like,
yeah, totally.
We got to earn that. I never felt like it was creepy.
It was so funny in that scene where he just like, as like the two women are crying in the other side of the room, he's like, so what do you really do for a living?
Yeah, she's like
I'm an optometrist.
Yeah, it was always weird how they were going to spin that with her working at the factory or whatever. And and then it's all resolved, and
Yep.
then everybody's happy.
Yeah, they're happier.
Happier, yeah, definitely. Anything else?
Nope.
Who's your favorite character, or are there scene stealers?
Maurice. It sucks that he's the only man in the movie, but it's. I mean, it doesn't suck that he's the only man in the movie. It just sucks that he's my favorite in a movie full of very interesting women. But he's such a sweet character, and it's not just in a 2-dimensional way. He seems like a 3-dimensional person who's carrying a lot of weight and trying to be the best man he can be. Even though he's can't keep his head above water.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a British thing or not, but like it's we would say Maurice is his name, but everybody pronounces it Morris. I wonder if that is a British thing. But
Sometimes they hit Maurice a little harder, but most of the time it's Morris. But I think
Morris.
it's probably just certain dialect and maybe a class dialect part of it.
Yeah, which I found unique. Just my grandfather's name is Morris, but it's spelled Maurice. But everybody always called him Morris, and I didn't know if it carried over. I don't know. I just thought that was cool. I put Hortense down as well. She doesn't honestly get as big of scenes as some of the other people.
Really interesting acting choices. She makes a lot of faces, but it keeps me very engaged with what she's doing.
Yeah, anytime
me to care about what it looks like to her.
Yeah, anytime she's interacting with Cynthia, it is like she is being a little bit not childish in a way, like she is doing the silly faces and doing all that stuff and playing along with Cynthia. And it does feel more of like how a younger daughter would, interact with her mother. And maybe it's like Miss Time, or this is like Cynthia's level of parenting. It's like, I am going to her level of parenting right now. Like I'm coming up to meet her here.
Right. And she doesn't want to parent either, because she's very independent. Right. So but she seems almost, it's so weird. Trying to unlock how Hortense feels about everything, but it almost seems like she might give this 2 weeks and then walk away. It's not like she doesn't care. She doesn't think it's funny, and she doesn't not care, but she feels confident that she's not being trapped in anything.
Yeah,
she can watch Cynthia be messy and then be charming and just kind of show up for the part she likes, and just she's not sure about showing up to the party, but she says yes to every invitation. She puts out invitations.
Yeah.
So she wants all this to happen, and she's almost like she's waiting for all of the drama bullshit to get over so she could just have a little bit of family back,
Yeah, I wonder, does she stick around? Is this a yearly, does it turn into a yearly visit kind of thing, or is she around a lot more often? Or is this just something that she's doing for grieving purposes? Like, hey, I just lost my mom, and I need something to fill that hole.
I could see her filling her life up with other people or whatever, friends in a relationship or something like that. But I think she probably always comes back around.
Yeah. And then I put Jane as my scene stealer. Jane and Paul are great in that last birthday party section. They're just doing little funny things that
it's easy to say there's no reason for them to be there, but it really does it fluffs out the whole situation.
I loved the faces that Jane makes are incredible throughout that. It's just all face acting there. So
a lot of Jane and Paul, somebody says some other new ridiculous thing and they're just like, I'm drinking.
All right. Any lines that stuck out? Any quotes from this movie?
Surprisingly few. I think there's a lot of good naturalistic dialogue, but not as many quotes. And there's a lot of funny in this movie too.
Yeah.
Mostly, I can't tell how much of it's really funny or look at British people, they're hilarious. Let's see. Oh, at one point, Cynthia just calls Maurice a toffee-nosed cow.
I think that has a toffee nose. That what is that, like brown noser, like a?
I guess maybe I had no idea what it meant.
Or toffee's like a well-to-do thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Cynthia says, "I could still turn a few heads," and then Roxanne replies with, "And a few stomachs."
Yeah, that's pretty good. A lot of mine are just insults from Cynthia. He's when she's talking to Morris about Roxanne's boyfriend, she calls him a shifty looking bleeder, walks like a crab.
Scaffolder. So what is
Morris is they get paid good money, and she's like, oh, they do?
Yeah, she wasn't real sure about that one. Morris's lines, though, the big one, the big speech or monologue piece where he says, "Secrets and lies. We're all in pain. Why can't we share our pain? I've spent my entire life trying to make people happy, and the three people I love the most in the world hate each other's guts, and I'm in the middle. I can't take it anymore."
Yeah.
And he delivers that. One thing I'll say about Timothy Spall and Morris is I think I am glad that this was not my first introduction to Timothy Spall, and that I have all the like him as Peter Pettigrew and him as like one of the bad guys in Sweeney Todd, and like he always plays this like rat-like character, and then to see him in a softer role, like a more sensitive role, like
looking him up, he's part of the Order of the British Empire. Like he's one of those guys who's done like 80 movies and stuff. You know, I did it earlier when I was talking about Vera Drake, but so I chagrined myself. Harry Potter, so those movies are so good because the cast is so good, but it really breaks my heart that like Imelda Staunton is now just Dolores Umbridge forever.
Yeah, forever.
Imelda Staunton is bigger than Harry Potter. Like Timothy Spall is bigger than Peter Pettigrew. So when I hear, I mean, I do it. I make the jokes about it all the time. Or David Thewlis is bigger than Lupin or whatever. But yeah, these top class actors who made Harry Potter good are now known to like most of the people I know only as so and so in Harry Potter.
And with Imelda Staunton though, like Peter Pettigrew, whatever, but like Dolores Umbridge is like one of the most hated villain character. Like you could ask a ton of millennials to this day, and they would say like, "Oh yeah, that she's worse than Voldemort" to some people.
Yes, absolutely,
that's just a testament to how good Imelda Staunton is. In that she's just incredible. So
totally.
Other quotes, yeah, I don't have a ton either.
Yeah, I don't have a ton. Yeah, early on, she's yelling at Roxanne for not being half smiling ever, and she goes, "You've been sitting there for a month with a face like a slapped arse."
And she does look like a face of a slapped arse. Like
she smiles, she has a very nice smile, but she looks upset
the whole time. Her face is like Jesus. Good job, Roxanne. You gotta laugh, ain't you, sweetheart? Or else you'd cry.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that, and there's a lot of like good Britishisms that are very like keep calm, carry on kind of shit. Again, about the boyfriend, Cynthia says, "I'd like to meet him. I wouldn't know him if he stood up in my soup."
I love that line. That's such a funny line. Yeah, that's it. That's all I have.
One I'll say for the cry moments, but then the last funny one was from Roxanne between Morris and Roxanne, and he's like, "You should go to college though, you got a good brain," and she goes, "Yeah, I don't want to use it though."
All right, let's move over to biggest laugh, cry, scare, or thrill in this movie. What moment hit the hardest emotionally?
Let's see. The biggest thrill is how much the mother and daughter smoke at the breakfast table. There's 2 cigarettes going over the tiniest breakfast table in the world every single morning. It was amazing.
I love the smoking in this. I've watched a lot of good smoking recently. I should pick it back up.
I miss it, man. It's pretty good.
Anything else?
In cry moments, I had a couple that we haven't talked about, I guess. Two things in the dinner scene. One, when I didn't understand at first, I didn't understand that Jane is now commiserating with Morris for not being able to have kids. But when Morris is consoling Hortense, Jane just breaks out in tears and says, God, what does she say?
I wish you were my dad. Like, basically, I wish you were my dad.
Maurice, I wish I had a dad like you. You're so lovely. And it's such a nice thing for a human to say to another human. Like, she's just realizing, oh, you want to be a dad and you can't be. And Jesus Christ, I wish you were my dad. You're so amazing. Yeah. It's such a sweet moment. I love that.
That's a good one.
And then the other one is because it is a mystery that doesn't get a secret that doesn't get revealed in Secrets and Lies, is after Cynthia tells Roxanne a little bit about her dad, Hortense asks, well, what about my dad? Was he a nice guy too? And Cynthia just breaks out in tears and says, oh, don't break my heart, darling. And we don't know what that means. We don't know if that means he was a villain or she still loves him or anything, or I was blackout drunk. I don't even remember him. I only remember bad things about him. I barely know what he looks like, kind of stuff. Like, whatever it is, she's like, just having to tell you that at this moment, it's going to break my heart so deeply.
And that allows us to like make our own decisions about what that means too. So like you said, the fact that we don't learn anything from that, but I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, he is a villain. Like maybe that's the way I immediately went to, is like he's a villain. But like now thinking about it and being like, oh, maybe he's like the love of her life at that time.
But I can't trust that, because what she says about Roxanne's dad was like, oh yeah, it was great. But he just up and left me one day and didn't say bye. But he was a really, really nice guy.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, well, I'm not sure I trust your feelings about that guy, or what you want to say about that guy to Roxanne. But it's also not about getting every little like detail right in a 3-dimensional space. It's about getting the emotions to like resolve.
What else?
Let's see. Oh, I guess I only have all right. And I have one laugh moment. It's when she shows them giving them a tour of the house, and she shows them the water tank in there. So, well, first
Matches-
see this.
It matches
And then they show the bathroom, and and Jane goes, "Oh, it's green. It matches the water tank."
That's so good.
Yeah.
Oh man, and you can just tell Monica hates Cynthia so much in this moment.
Yeah, and
Just like,
Cynthia's not being nice either.
no, not
It's
at
like
all.
because Jane's like, "Oh my god, what a beautiful bed," and she's like, "Yeah, I could see Morris thrashing around in that thing." That's his brother.
What's your most ridiculous moment of this?
Is WTFs.
Yep.
Basically, it's all the scenes that we talked about not needing to be there. The other one I have is that apparently Morris hasn't visited his sister in many months, and the first thing he does is walk out her back door and go to an outhouse and take a shit. And then his sister's just standing outside the door, asking him how his life's been while he's taking a shit in an outhouse. That was a pretty big WTF.
Yeah. I also wish I would go back and do a sweetheart count of this movie to see how many times Cynthia says the word sweetheart. And it graded on me a few times where I was like, I can't do this. She says sweetheart so many
Sweetheart
times.
and darling a lot,
Oh
absolutely.
my gosh. Yeah, I didn't have anything else though. The shitting scene is pretty it's
Weird.
crazy. Okay.
You realize it's their childhood house, so he's like shatting that out.
Yeah.
Under
He's
time.
like, this is normal. We used to
Yeah.
talk to each other for hours out here on All right, now it's time to talk about Secrets and Lies, the musical. No, the score. Andrew Dixon is the one that did the score for this film. I do not like that. So that's
Oh, okay.
yeah.
I don't think the score is amazing, but I think I did like the score, but I don't think it's because I think the music's really good. It's because it is the same theme through a long movie, but it does that very easy movie trick of making me feel like I'm not just okay. Here's another 5-minute scene. Here's another 5.
Yeah.
It makes me like feel like I'm continuously watching the same story, interconnected. It kept me from being bored, but I don't think it's great music.
I think there were scenes where like something hits in the scene. Well, it acts like the music acts like something hit like really big in that scene, and then it was like doom, like
There were a couple stings. It would be quiet, and then all of a sudden there would be an emotional sting that I did notice. I was like, that's a little too much. You should come in softer.
It took me out of some of the scenes. I was like, man, I almost wish this movie was completely scoreless. Like,
yeah, I think it'd be fine scoreless. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be more impactful, maybe. So
I mean, I do agree with you that there are moments when the score is noticeable. It's not great.
the score reminded me to Twin Peaks in the sense that every time something dramatic happened, that's when the music kicked in. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I think it's like in the first act leading to the second act where the score almost never stops.
Mhm.
It's just softly there. The violin theme's just there the whole time through scene to character to character to character. That I was like, I liked that part of it because it kept it rolling somehow.
Yeah, it's. I wonder if any of his other movies are like that, or I'm curious.
Yeah. I think they're all the two I've seen. I don't remember about Happy Go Lucky, but Vera Drake and Turner are also very quiet movies.
Yeah. And I think Topsy Turvy, which is one of the ones that I've always wanted to see, is like a big movie. It's about Gilbert and Sullivan, so it has to be. Yeah. So it has to be very big and musical.
It's funny. I mean, we could pair it with Blue Moon now. Like it's the break, the musical like partnership breakup movies.
That's a genre of its own. Now, I don't have a F, Marry, Kill for this because it just didn't seem right, as most of them would be. Would you want to know? Here's a big question for you. Would you want to know If,
Huh?
if would you want to know your birth mother?
Man, it's impossible to put myself in
Obviously.
that situation. I think very logically and not emotionally about the concept of adoption. I find it strange that people don't choose it more often,
Hmm.
or that they have a hard time accepting that that's a way that they need to have a child to love rather than biologically. But I've never been a person who wanted a child biologically a lot. Definitely not a woman, and the pressures and identity issues that have to deal with those kinds of things, who have tried and spent a lot of money and failed or that or whatever. I don't understand the genetic need to know. So I feel like I could be the type of person who would be like, I guess I wouldn't hate to meet my mom. It'd be nice to have another person in my life, but odds are they're just another person. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Especially if I had very loving parents,
Yeah.
If I was left with a family like Hortense was, that was very good and I was close to, but
And
that's different for every person. And I'm definitely speaking to a lot of experiences I haven't had.
And I think that like in today, like 30 years later, after, this, we can find out information about this person, in various ways to really feel out whether or not I do want to meet this person or not. I can go on social media and find anybody within, 30 seconds and be like, learn a little bit about their life without ever having to get into contact with that person. So,
I mean, I think, yeah, it does seem like it's very frequent that people hit an age and do that. I had a cousin who my one of my family members, an uncle I had, didn't know about, and his mother let him when he was 18 go find him, and
Yeah.
he's part of my family now, and I'm glad I know him as a cousin, even though we're not close or anything. I'm glad I spent time with him and stuff. And it just seems like a lot of people do want to know, and so I can't speak to that experience, but there must be something there.
Yeah. It's a unique thing. And like, I think about like Hortense in this and like a little bit of a sliding doors moment, whether or not she goes through the agency or she, as she did it on her own, like what would the result be if she goes to the agency instead? Cynthia, she probably never meets Cynthia, honestly.
Well,
Even though
yeah,
I was just going to say,
people say no to the agency, and that's
Yeah.
as far as it goes. What's interesting though about what you said is that you can kind of like cyber stalk people a little and learn about them, but you can't truly know a full
Right.
person that way. So like what is fascinating about this movie is Cynthia, like, here's her voice on the phone, knows some like medical stats from some records, but doesn't know who Cynthia is. It has to learn that through every sentence Cynthia says.
yeah.
And that at least as a movie goes, much more dramatic and fascinating. But as a human experience, like, she gets to find all the flaws after she's found out some strengths and just some normal people shit that's happening too. And that's got to be difficult.
Yeah. It's
I don't
crazy.
know.
It's a tough one.
It was tough.
Who gave the best performance in this movie?
We haven't talked about it a lot. We've talked about it so much, and I talked about it a lot. Cynthia's amazing. Like, what's her name?
Bernice
Brenda Blethyn.
Brenda Blethyn.
Brenda Blethyn. Now, maybe you'll feel this way. You didn't seem to like her as a character as much as I did. She's grating. Her voice is grating, and she talks a lot. She's pathetic and cries a lot. So there's things that aren't likable about her. Her performance is stellar. She is the emotional heart of this movie. And even if you don't like her at times, like, I could not help but feel so much for her. She felt like a very, very real person.
I felt like when she came out of her shell in the second half of this movie, and when she from the diner scene on, I was like, I'm in on her.
Yeah.
Because you got to see a lot more of her as other than the just blithering, like, person that we grading don't like. Her daughter doesn't even like her. Her brother puts up with her, kind of thing. But then we get to see her as a more rounded person when she gets to be around somebody else that doesn't know her and doesn't know all the.
She has fun, and
things.
I think she's nice. I think she's funny. I think she's like game and not judgmental of people generally. Like, I think that it sounds like you disliked her in the beginning of the movie a lot more than I did. Now I understand everything you're saying because I saw all that too. I just there's something about her creakiness and her mousiness, and I was like, oh, this poor lonely person.
Yeah. But I think once you get to that second half of the movie, you can get back. You can look at her on the front part of the movie and see her as a much more rounded character than what we were getting early on. I liked the second half of this movie much more than the first half of this movie, even if it was a lot more setup and everything in the first half. But I think
she's a complex character, but I think the acting job is just I think it's far above anybody else in this film, and they're all good actors.
Yeah.
And it's a one of a kind performance. Like recasting her is pretty hard.
I-
Who's going to do that and not seem like a Hollywood actor? Like it's
Yeah.
not many people who can pull off that kind of performance.
I think in 2026 there's an obvious one, but yeah, I struggled in anything 1996. I thought Timothy Spall was the surprise for me here. Again, I think seeing him and what he's done, in the few movies that I've seen him in, and then see him in this, I'm like, oh God, like, yeah, I feel like British actors are just so much better. And it's not their accent. They're just better, guys.
No,
Like,
I mean, obviously this is an acting movie, and it's directed
Yeah.
to be an acting movie too. So there's a lot more flexing that's allowed to be done here. That's not allowed to do it.
it's
be
like
done
seeing an
anymore.
actor like William H. Macy, and you see him do all these different things, and you're like, yeah, he was an actor. He's an actor, and
Yeah.
gets put in these kind of ridiculous roles that we see, like the shoveler or whatever from like Mystery Men and things like that, where he is silly, or but like he's an actor's actor. He was doing Mamet, like he's fine. So I would compare them.
I wonder if we're losing that very much. Britain's still churning out British young actors are still very talented. Not like every single one of them or anything, but like seem to have come up through a course of honor that like you got to cut your chops in some real acting before you're allowed to like be an international superstar. But we have a lot of movies that are good. I don't know why the only thing that comes to mind is Challengers, which I think is a really good movie that I like. But we have a lot of those movies now where everybody has to be flat and apathetic.
Yeah.
And there's very little emoting. There's very little micro acting in the face or the voice or the movements or anything like that. It's like a school of acting that's very very Gen Z, and it's apathy, I guess. And that's cool. I like those movies too. But I'm like, watching a movie like this makes me turn around and look at those movies and go, "Oh, you're not even technically acting." Like,
Yeah.
look at this shit.
I think I saw somewhere that this was the first year at the Oscars that there wasn't a British actor nominated in Best Actor or Best Supporting Actor. It's the first time.
Okay,
this
but
happened.
actress, and supporting actors from this movie were.
Yeah. So
What if they had Ray Fiennes? Well, Ray Fiennes wasn't.
no, I'm talking about this year.
Oh, I see.
2025, 2026 Oscars. First time in like years that a British actor has not been nominated.
I thought that actor category was a little weak, and the supporting actors a little weak. So maybe they should go to the Brits again.
Yeah. And well, no, I could see a couple of them. I'm like, no, they don't need to be in it.
Yeah. The two winners.
No, I'm with you.
I love the two winners, but I don't think that they were the best, and I wouldn't be upset if they weren't even nominated.
Yeah. I would have switched out if Benicio. I love Benicio. I think he's amazing in everything. He's so good.
Has he ever gotten an award? Because he deserves it.
Yes, Traffic, for the movie Traffic, way
I hate
back when.
Traffic, but that's fine. I'm glad he got.
Yeah, it's not a great movie. Not a great, it did not age well, I would say.
Mhm.
All right, recasting. Was there anybody in 96 that you could see maybe in this role or these roles, or 2026?
I barely tried, and I had nothing for 96 and a couple lame attempts at 2026.
Yeah, I said Colin Firth maybe in 96, but I don't feel like for Morris, I can see him being, kind and empathetic and softer in this movie, and not as Hugh Granty as he gets to be at times. For 2026, Sally Hawkins is a perfect Cynthia.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't think about her either.
And she's worked, like obviously it's the same, he likes to work with the same people, but
Such
like
a wonderful actor, and
Sally
she does.
Hawkins is
She does so much like little acting too.
I don't even want to watch Paddington 3 because I know she's not in it. So
Well, that's funny because the only one I came up with was Emily Mortimer.
very funny.
Yeah.
Andrew Garfield maybe for Morris, but
Okay.
for Hortense, the actress from a movie that I saw within the last 2 years, Rye Lane. Her name is Vivian Opera. Rye Lane is a great rom-com movie, walking, talking movie, British,
All
very
right.
good. She would be really good in it. All right, fun facts. Anything that you learned from this? There's one fun fact that I think is hilarious.
There's not a ton, but the ones we do have are good. I think I know the one. I'll leave that one to you. Let's see here. Oh, well, you did mention that Leslie Manville was brought in because the social worker scene wasn't working.
Mm-hmm.
But I did read online that the original person cast in that role was a male. So Mike Lee, when he found out it wasn't working, he was like, let me find not only an actor I know and work with, but like a female actor to have this scene at the adoption thing, and that was just kind of very interesting, right?
I think that I agree. I think that's way better.
Mhm.
Definitely putting a woman in that position is going to be better than.
And it's not like we'd already talked about the scene, plenty, but like it's not like Leslie Manville goes in there and acts with all nurture or all like feminine tenderness or anything like that. But like it just all of the like matter of fact, this is what we do here. This is what you should know. This is what you should be concerned about. Like just comes better from a woman doing that work every day.
Yeah. What else? Anything?
Actually, you mentioned everything else except the one I think you're about to mention. Go for it.
Members of the Heaven's Gate cult went to see this movie shortly before their mass suicide.
Yeah, that's crazy. Can you imagine? Like, I wonder what the details were. Like, if they had planned it out yet. Because, like, what? All right, you're in a cult and you're ready to ascend to a comet, right? And you got 3 days to kill. Like, what do you go see in the theaters? Because I'm a movie fan and I love a Secrets and Lies, but that's not what I'm seeing if I got 3 days.
I wonder what was out at this time to where they were like, "Hey guys, what do you want to see this year?"
We just missed Jerry Maguire. It just left the theaters. All they have is Secrets and Lies.
Oh my gosh!
Rest in peace. Those guys were not as evil as other crazy people are in cults.
Yeah, it's like Maximum Risk. Is Independence Day? Like those are the things that
You want to see Independence Day?
I mean, they'd probably already seen it. Let's be honest.
Let's be
It's
honest.
been out.
There's a scene that is them in that movie. They're like aliens, take me away.
It's been a couple. It's been a
They
couple
probably
months.
knew about that scene and they were offended. They were like, "No, that's not how it's going to work out for us." The
Yeah,
aliens
we're
are
not
gonna
doing
do this.
that. We're not doing that at all.
That's crazy because I always thought that scene in Independence Day was inspired by Heaven's Gate, but it's not because it happened like the same year. It came out the same year they did that.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I'm trying to see if there's anything else. It just says Maximum Risk,
I don't know what
which
that is.
I don't even know what that movie is. Oh, it's a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah. It's in its second week of release and like it's doing really well. Anybody want to go see Van Damme this weekend? No. I'm trying to
Nah.
kill myself.
Let's catch that new Mike Lee joint.
Oh man,
That's crazy.
that's perfect. I did say the characters of Cynthia and Hortense never met before the scene where they meet the first time. So that's very much them filming the scene like they had so they grew to know each other as they were filming, which I think is really cool. So yeah, there's a Criterion release of this film. I'd love to go back and look at.
I'd love to see some behind the scenes stuff because there is stuff like that I also read some other stuff that it may not be quite as cool as it sounds. Like I think they never read until their first rehearsal together, never met.
Yeah,
And
that's
really
crazy.
but also stuff like you said earlier, like there seemed to be some stuff online like that some of the actors, the way they filmed it, the actors didn't know the revelations until they had already filmed a lot of the movies, so they would be like fresh to them as actors as well. I mean, that's the kind of thing that sounds really, really cool and maybe not as cool in reality as it sounds, or I'd just be more interested in the details of what that actually means.
Yeah.
It's gonna be crazy to like, all right, now this week we're just filming the final dinner scene and you guys don't know what's going to happen until you get the script on Monday. That's wild. That's what it makes you think is happening, but I doubt that's exactly happening.
Yeah, I would love to be a fly on a wall for a Mike Lee production. Just
it sounds like a fun set to be on.
A Mike Lee joint.
Yeah.
Like a fine wine and dish, if you could pair this with another movie for a double feature, what would you choose?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have great ones, but I did think of like a couple Woody Allen films and Ingmar Bergman films, right? Hannah and Her Sisters and Interiors feel this way. I was trying to find one that's like this in terms of adoption, but I couldn't really come up with anything. I think my my coolest pair with would be a couple Ken Loach films. Ken Loach is a director I love. Sometimes hard to watch because he's very cinema verite, very mumblecore.
Yeah.
And older than Mike Lee, but Kess is one of his best ones. And he cut his teeth on an after-school special called Kathy Come Home that just shows like a middle-class couple how they could fall into poverty very realistically and become homeless like over the course of months. His movies, he has a lot to do. Like The When the Chicks Are Barley is a lot about like the IRA, the troubles in the 20s and stuff. But he has a lot of films that are about class, but they are very grounded in real middle class and working class Brit people in the UK.
Yeah.
And they have this naturalistic talking to them, deal with family trauma and emotions too. So I think Ken Loach would be a good Mike Leigh pairing.
Just as you were talking about Ken Loach and everything, I thought of Pedro Almodovar.
Oh, yeah, kind of.
There are some like films of his that like I'm thinking like Talk to Her or All About My Mother is a good one. Voltaire, they all are, even Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown. Like they all have these big scenes at the end where all their characters are finally meeting up and there's kind of a blow up, or there's these people that come together that were enemies and now are friends. So like very, very much so Almodovar. Now his are a little bit more the drama. I was about to say the drama is elevated to like an 11.
He like verges on camp in a lot of his movies, and there's a lot more emotion and energy. But you're right that they. I mean, I haven't watched an Almodovar movie in so long, and I think he might be in my top 5 directors. He just makes the best movies in the world.
Every time I watch a new one, I'm like, that was awesome.
Yeah, he just doesn't miss really. I mean, he does have a few misses, but even his misses are kind of fascinating.
Yeah,
that's a good pick.
And then I think Alyssa mentioned one to me after we got done. She said "Eat, Drink, Man, Woman," which is does that Ang Lee who did that movie, or any Ang Lee movie from those?
That in the podcast?
Yeah, we did that 2 years ago, and just a father with his 3 daughters and them getting married off and being in relationships and all this. It does kind of feel very similar to me. So.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of good pairing whips out there, but I didn't have the time or take the time to find the perfect ones, because there are a lot of really great talking movies that are about family trauma. And it's one of the types of movies, a subgenre that I love the most. I love movies like this.
It's like, who did Squid and the Whale? Alexander, Baumbach. Yeah, I feel like maybe Baumbach can be paired with something like this.
Yeah, and the American side, like a Margot at the Wedding kind of thing. Yeah.
I was going to say Alexander Payne, like Sideways or something like that. But again, that one's not as much like family. And
it's not as heavy either. Like it deals with heavy themes, but it's almost like comedy. It's weird.
Yeah, it is weird. I would stick with Baumbach then.
Yeah.
All right. Well, how likely are you to throw this one on again?
Not likely for a long time. I give it a 2 out of 5.
Same.
Yeah, it's a heavy, difficult watch. I think this is the kind of movie that I need to remember. What will happen with all the media I consume eventually happens is I forget everything that happened in it, and I remember exactly how I feel about it. And so I'm like, oh, that's an amazing movie. It's this is what's good about it. This person did a great job in it. This is what it made me feel. And then I'm like, but I don't remember how it started or what happened in the middle of the end. And then I would like to rewatch it. So that would just take some years.
I agree, and I think this is a movie that creates like more lists. To add to your watch. So now I want to go out and watch all the Mike Leigh films. Now I want to go find, Timothy Spall performances that will blow me away. So I agree with you there. Out of 5 stars, what'd you give it overall?
I gave it a 4. I could be tempted at 4.5, but I think 4 is right.
Yeah, I was really on the middle of or on the fence on this one, and I think like the more I think about it, I liked it, and the more research I did, I liked. So I gave it a 3.5. Like I said, I want to go and kind of experience more Mike Leigh and base a list around that and be like, okay, this is Mike Leigh's like opus, and this one is, this is his middle years or whatever.
Yeah, you read a lot of the reviews. A lot of the reviews at the time were like people who seem like reviewers that were like, well, we know Mike Leigh, we know what he does. This is the best he's done so far, which is kind of interesting. And all the movies I've seen of his and kind of want to watch came after, maybe a couple years before. But
yeah. Well, we did The Secrets and we did The Lies both. And I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Ryan, for hanging out and talking movies with us again. Before we wrap up, any recent movie recommendations from you?
So post the Oscars death race, I've just been kind of following up on some of those directors. So I saw some Paul Thomas Anderson that I hadn't seen before. I never saw Licorice Pizza.
What'd you think of Licorice Pizza?
I loved it. It was great.
Oh, it's so wonderful.
Yeah, it was awesome. I love it too. I mean, I also love a coming of age film too. So I'm a sucker for that. It was great. I think his movies tend to be a little too long and meandering and sometimes don't have a point. But directors who are like that, like Wes Anderson, sometimes that doesn't count when they do young people because young people have a point just by being young people. So that's why I like Moonrise Kingdom more than a lot of Wes Anderson later work, because adults acting in a Wes Anderson film feels pointless to me, even though they're beautiful films.
Yeah.
Whereas when they're kids, they matter a lot. So I get a little frustrated at some of PTA's movies for being meandering and pointless, including One Battle After Another. But watching him do that thing, and it's not Boogie Nights, it's not One Battle, but it's like teenagers, 20-somethings try to find themselves. Love it.
And we'll see Paul Thomas Anderson again this year, because we're going to be doing Hard 8.
I watched Hard 8, and then I was like, oh, wait, this comes out in 1996. Is it even on our list? And then, of course, it's on our list. So I was almost in Discord being like, you guys got to check. We got to add this to the list.
Hard 8, man.
I think in August or something, late summer, we're watching it.
It's an interesting movie that I'm eager to talk about, because it's definitely not perfect, but definitely you see all the PTA stuff in there, even with some studio interference in there as well.
And a shorter runtime too, which I like.
Yeah,
I did catch up on all the Chloe Zhao movies I haven't seen, and they're all very good.
The Eternals.
I had already seen the Eternals, and yeah, it's known for being a bad Marvel movie, but I like the Eternals comic books I
don't hate that movie as much as I think I think she tried something in a studio system that has a very strict way, and I think it's beautiful. I think it is very pretty, and I think she went for something. And
yeah, I don't hate that movie at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the worst movie she's made, but like, or at least interesting to me. But as a fan of the Eternals and comic books, they're hard to adapt. It's weird that they did an Eternals movie. They should have never done that.
Yeah, it's a weird one.
They're a weird mythology, and they have weird personalities. And then yesterday I saw Project Hail Mary in the theaters and Chud at night at a friend's house.
Chud! I watched Chud like 3 years ago.
I've never seen Chud. I've always meant to, but I have a friend who shows movies in his garage, and now we're throwing darts at a dartboard to see what we watch. And I was the one who got to throw the dart, and I was aiming for Manhunter because I recently read Red Dragon, and I missed, and I hit Chud.
Oh man, I love Manhunter so much.
Manhunter's so good. And but the wife in Manhunter is also the woman in Chud, so I still got a little bit of
nice. The only thing I would recommend that I've watched recently, because I've kind of slowed down after the Oscars, I haven't done much. I did rewatch Sinners yesterday and enjoyed that. But Nouvelle Vague, which is Linklater's other film that he did this year. Love it.
Well, I'm gonna watch that soon, because I'm on this thing where I'm watching the directors, because I know a lot of them. I know Linklater movies, but I've missed like 5, so I'm like, I'm gonna slowly kind of try to catch up on all of these directors who got nominated. If
you have any love for French New Wave, or if you're wanting to get into French New Wave, Nouvelle Vague is a great like love letter to that, and Jean-Luc Godard and everything. So it's made me want to go like down that rabbit hole again.
Oh, I'm a little iffy on French New Wave. They're so pretty, but they're so soulless.
Oh my God. There are some Godard movies and some Truffaut movies that I'm like, these are top tier. Like, I get it. Even if it is so pretentious to like love those kinds of things, I'm like, no, these are good.
From Agnes Varda from Cleo 5 to 7, that's amazing. But like, I think I've seen Breathless 3 times, and I don't want to ever see it again.
It's not like, I don't even know if Breathless is like, I love Contempt. Weekend. Which
Contempt. I think I love that movie.
Contempt. Weekend is a fun one too. It's like kind of all over the place, but it's fun. So if you're into French New Wave and want to learn about it, Nouvelle Vague is a good place to start. And if you want to keep this conversation going, you can join us on Discord, follow us on Instagram, or check out my letterbox to see what I've been watching lately. Those are all available in my bios wherever you're listening or watching. Next week, we're going to finish out our Oscar season dedicated to the films that were nominated for Best Picture at the 97 Academy Awards with the movie Shine, another movie I have not seen. So we'll be live next Sunday, or this Sunday, coming Sunday at 5 p.m. And thank you all so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time on 52/1996.
Mwah.
Be nice to women.
Be nice to women.
Especially ones named Cynthia.
Yeah.
We spun the reel through desert storms and courtroom cries. Love letters burned, planes went down, truth hid behind the lies. From snowbound crimes in Fargo streets to agents running wires, we laughed with Gilmore, screamed in masks lit, theaters on fire. It's 52/1996, let the credits roll tonight. Good movies, bad movies, all of them in the same rewind. 1 year, 1 week, every frame gets its time to shine. We'll see you next 1996.